At night, the faint sound of steady footsteps echoed. A group of 3 entered the graveyard. The one at the rear glanced around and asked, "Huh? Why don't I see any of them tonight?" Carrying a massive hammer, Payne answered, "Corpse-eating demons are cowardly creatures. Could it be they sensed the aura from our Dennis and ran away in fear?" No sooner had the words left his mouth than a swarm of corpse-eating demons crawled out of nowhere. They opened their jaws, baring sharp teeth, their glowing red eyes fixed on Payne's group. Lin Tian suddenly spun around, his entire body radiating a terrifying killing intent. 2 corpse-eating demons froze in shock. The very next second, the 2 demons abruptly turned tail and bolted. In the forest, the wind rustled through the trees as Payne's group spotted countless claw marks on the ground, clear evidence the creatures had just been there. Lin Tian smirked and said, "Ha, these corpse-eating demons seem to be quite sensitive." Rustling came from a nearby thicket. One of Payne's companions pushed aside the brush to pass through. But the moment all 3 stepped out of the thicket, they froze, eyes widening in shock. On the other side was a large pack of corpse-eating demons. Hearing the disturbance, the creatures immediately turned their gaze toward Payne's group. Quickly grabbing 2 branches, Payne crouched behind the thick bushes, his voice panicked. "Get down! Quick, it's a whole pack of corpse-eating demons. Why are there so many?" The man beside him dropped to one knee, frowning and gritting his teeth. "What now? There must be at least dozens of them." Lin Tian drew his sword, his body exuding killing intent as he stepped out of the brush. "Why hide? Just kill them all." Payne cried out in alarm, "Wait! They'll swarm us. This is dangerous." But Lin Tian acted as if he hadn't heard. Striding forward, he suddenly leapt high, sword raised, plunging straight into the heart of the demon pack. His blade flashed through the air, each strike dazzling and swift. The corpse-eating demons surrounding him fell in droves. Payne's eyes widened in disbelief. He? Just who is he? This isn't right!" His companion shouted, voice trembling with excitement. "Those corpse-eating demons are the kind even retired warriors can't defeat. Yet he's cutting them down like chickens." In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian held the severed head of a demon in his hand. Stepping over the pile of corpses, he said coolly, "It's done. Let's move." Payne's companion couldn't help but praise as he watched Lin Tian's imposing figure. "This young man is truly formidable." Payne rubbed his hands with a forced laugh. "Ha! Ha! Ha! Yes, let's go." At the royal palace of the Dwarf Kingdom, Payne's group arrived at the gates with the severed head. 2 guards immediately blocked their way. "His Majesty's health is poor. He cannot meet with you for the time being," one guard said. Angered, Payne lifted the black sack holding the demon head and shouted, "Hey! Look closely! We've slain corpse-eating demons." The guard looked troubled. "But there's nothing I can do." Just then, a voice rang out from inside, "Let them in." Startled, the guard hurriedly opened the door. From within emerged a beautiful figure. It was the Queen of the Dwarf Kingdom. Adele sat gracefully, legs crossed, fanning herself with leisure. The group entered, Payne stepping forward to speak. "Your Majesty the Queen, we've come to claim our merit. This young man, Dennis, has eradicated the corpse-eating demons that threaten the kingdom," Payne declared. Hearing this, Adele's eyes widened in surprise. "What?" She turned her gaze toward Lin Tian, who stood confidently before her with a smile. Inwardly, Adele thought, "This man truly carries an extraordinary air. Could he be?" She lowered her eyes with a faint smile. This man was completely unlike a dwarf. His body stood tall, like that of a wild beast. She raised her fan in front of her face and spoke calmly. "The guild's reward will be delivered shortly. Dennis, stay. The rest of you may leave." Hearing this, the other 2 bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Once they had left, Lin Tian turned to Adele with a smile. "Your Majesty, I don't need gold as a reward. If you could teach me the art of smithing, that would be much better." Adele unexpectedly lowered the fan in her hand. She stood and walked toward Lin Tian. "A reward like yours requires careful thought. For decades, this dwarven kingdom hasn't had a young man as valiant as you. She lifted his chin with her fan, leaning close, her voice grew ambiguous. As for slaying that corpse-eating demon, I couldn't care less. If you want the art of smithing, you'll have to pay with something else. At those words, Lin Tian's face darkened. Dissatisfaction churned in his heart. Something else? I'd been busy slaying monsters all day, and now she's trying to cheat me of my reward? Adele smiled slyly in front of him. Don't misunderstand. It's just that, the other night, you slept with my younger sister. By rights, you ought to be punished severely, but since you killed the corpse-eating demon, we'll consider it a service to atone for your offense. Therefore, if you want the smithing arts, you'll need to meet a different condition. Lin Tian raised a brow, his expression clearly puzzled. Your sister. Suddenly, he recalled the girl from the other day and realized. So it was that blonde girl. Remembering everything, Lin Tian pounded his chest and declared, Your Majesty, don't frame me like that. After I was drunk, it was clearly your sister who violated me. Adele looked him straight in the eye. Oh? She narrowed her eyes, smiling mischievously. I don't need to know who violated whom. Adele suddenly caught Lin Tian's hand and boldly placed it against her own chest. Startled, Lin Tian glanced down at where his hand now rested. You. Are you serious? He stammered. Looking straight into his eyes, Adele smiled with a seductive glint. Serious? Why don't you judge for yourself? With a single touch, can't you already tell? Lin Tian hesitated. We've only just met, and she's the queen. Isn't this far too forward? Frowning, he said firmly, Your Majesty, surely you jest. If you don't make yourself clear, I won't dare act recklessly. Propping her chin on her fan, Adele flashed her white teeth in a mischievous smile. Make it clear? You mean to say you dare act recklessly toward me? So arrogant, placing no respect upon your queen. She reached out and stroked his cheek. The king is on his deathbed. Very soon, I will be the new ruler. If I want to choose someone for my harem, what's wrong with that? Turning her back, she muttered coldly, Humph, that old king. His teeth are already falling out. Who told him, in his youth, to live without restraint and burn himself out? Lin Tian was left speechless. Adele's eyes lingered on him, unashamed as she tempted him further. In short, if you want the art of smithing, you'll have to obey me. Lin Tian hesitated, but before he could respond, the system abruptly appeared, life value 240, attack 100, defense 100. At the same moment, Adele flushed crimson. Throwing her arms around Lin Tian's neck, gazing at him with infatuated eyes. With his bare chest revealed, Lin Tian asked evenly, Now, will you agree to teach me the forging arts? Just then, the guards outside suddenly burst through the door. Your Majesty, it's terrible. The king's condition has worsened. Mid-sentence, the guard froze, his face reddening in shock at the scene before him. Quickly averting his gaze, he dropped to his knees. Forgive me. The king. He is not well. Please hurry. Adele calmly sat upright, straightening her gown. With a bright smile, she replied, Is that so? Then today truly brings a double blessing. Lin Tian slipped back into his clothes. Then I'll return to the guild for now and seek you later. Wait. Adele's eyes hardened. You will come with me. From now on, the palace is your home. I am the king, and you will be my consort. Do you understand? Lin Tian froze, forcing a bitter smile. What? How did I suddenly become the queen instead? At the king's chamber, Adele and Lin Tian stood side by the bed. The withered monarch lay in a deep coma, skin drawn tight over bone. This, Lin Tian muttered, staring in disbelief. This isn't a dying man, it's a corpse already dried out. Shaking, he turned toward Adele. She calmly hid her face behind her fan. Don't look at me like that. This isn't my doing. 10 years ago, he forced me into marriage, and ever since he's been unable to even rise from bed. Why else would I be in such a rush to find a consort? Closing her fan, she looked at Lin Tian again. These next 2 days, I must prepare for my coronation. As for you, feel free to roam the palace as you like. Yes, your majesty, Lin Tian answered. But Adele pressed a finger to his lips, smiling wickedly. Still calling me majesty? Call me darling. Cold sweat ran down Lin Tian's back. For the sake of smithing, I'll just have to endure it. Lowering his eyes, he forced the word out, darling. Days later, Lin Tian stood before an imposing vault door. After 2 nights of effort, I finally pried the key to the artifact vault from her hands. He smirked. Though the dwarves haven't forged anything new in decades, there should still be some treasures left in storage. Following Adele's instructions, he turned the key 2.5 times left, then 2.5 times right, then even sang a folk tune and danced the old dwarven steps, looking like a fool before the sealed gate. With a crimson flash, the massive door creaked open. Satisfied, Lin Tian pushed it wide, only to freeze in astonishment. Inside were nothing but rows of empty bookshelves, draped in thick cobwebs, untouched for years. He sighed. So the old king lived off the legacy of the past, selling every last artifact for his own comfort. No wonder he lived so easily. Just then, his eyes caught something in the corner. A few dusty magical items still remained beneath layers of webs. The system's voice chimed, lifeblood armor, a living armor that feeds on its wearer's blood. Boasting immense defense and a guardian's will, it can detect enemy attacks on its own and activate protection. Next was a strange weapon, a blade forged from the spine of a demonic dragon. The deeper the wielder's obsession, the more terrifying its unleashed power would become. Finally, there was a necklace, its pendant resembling the eye of a goblin, the eye of dark descent. It came from some unknown creature long dead, reforged by dwarven hands into a mystical eye said to see through all things. Though one had to be wary, for it could seize control of its bearer. Lin Tian reached out and brushed the dust from the armor. A faint azure glow spread across its surface. He smiled quietly. So this is the dwarf's power? This isn't forging weapons, it's creating life itself. His face darkened. A living thing, feeding on its master's blood. Without hesitation, he pricked his fingertip and smeared blood on the armor. At once, the armor dissolved into vine-like strands, crawling up his arm and wrapping tightly around his body. Within moments, his entire form was encased in pitch-black plating, only his eyes visible through the helm. He experimented, shifting the armor's shape. 3 forms. He muttered to himself. When he willed it, the armor dissolved again, retreating into his chest. A heartbeat later, it reformed as a pendant around his neck, glowing faintly with a subtle azure light. Picking it up, he chuckled, not bad. Though I wonder how strong its defense really is. In the far corner of the vault, the blade and the eye of dark descent still remained. Lin Tian stepped forward, reaching out to the dragon spine blade leaning against the wall. Without hesitation, he gripped it. The blade shone with a pale blue radiance, releasing a wave of oppressive mana. This pressure, Lin Tian thought grimly. Forget it. Better to save this and let Alice use it. He slung the weapon across his shoulder. A pity, an entire vault, and only 3 items left. Still, with these, he could force the lazy dwarves to reopen Apollo's furnace and reforge magic gear for him. With their output, they could make at least 20 artifacts a day. In 2 months at most, his needs would be met. Hands on his hips, Lin Tian laughed under his breath. Looks like I'll be staying here for a while longer. Outside, beneath the clear blue sky, the dwarven kingdom celebrated, colored paper drifting like snow through the air.